Good afternoon. So this will be a fourth chapter in the First Contact series. אני אדבר באנגלית כי שאר הסדרה, גם הסדרה של ה-First Contact הייתה באנגלית, אז נמשיך באנגלית, follow suit. So it will be our fourth chapter. I apologize, for just taking the interval between, maybe it was like already 3 weeks between the third and the fourth. It's not that I didn't. I pretty much have it, have it in my mind because it was actually rehearsed, in the past, in the infamous, period of the kings of Norway go. If you remember, if you recall, and also even much before that, in a written form. But the reason for this delay, just the goons, the zombies, how it is. And maybe they will also interfere. They will also interfere. Part of this. Now doing this video. Just you see Gandalf. He's always in there to give his perspective. And after some time, you learn to appreciate Gandalf's perspective. So thank you, Gandalf. Thank you, Gandalf. So let's just try to keep all the kind of the current events and politics and Titan operations, Titan diplomacy, Titan games. Let's keep it aside and try to concentrate for maybe 30 minutes or 45 minutes on again something that is purely theoretical, even though of course the discussion is theoretical. It doesn't mean that it doesn't that we don't have any kind of practical consequences, because I am, to some extent, the first contact of the Kerugan civilization. But again, the point of view, or I would say the prism, is that of theoretical, discussion, much like it was in the former 3 parts. Actually, it's like 2 parts. It's supposed to be full 4-part series. Just the first part was just split to two videos. So the first part is kind of introduction, with regard to what is first contact, and according to the terminology of the Star Trek franchise, the Gene Roddenberry articulation of first contact. And the second is kind of is inquiry into the problem of first contact in the way that many humans, expected expected to happen, even intelligent humans, presumably Enrico Fermi, because of the Fermi paradox that they ask, where is everybody? So presumably he's waiting for, Enrico Fermi is waiting for starships to land on the air, on the face of the earth. So, and this is a very common kind of situation in science fiction, even though it's probably the worst kind of first contact of all. And this is and we discussed the novel Childhood Ends as a kind of an example of why it's so bad to do it that way. What we have left now is to I would say this chapter will discuss, I would say, the issue of the email, or the message, like the interplanetary or intergalactic, interstellar, intercluster message. And we should speak a little bit about his master's voice of Stanislav Lem. And the next one we will discuss. The last one will be dedicated to the issue of the Evangelion, or Nosei Absora, bearer of good news, I would say. And a discussion of the novel The Left End of Darkness of Ursula Le Guin. Now, we finished the last chapter with the question, okay, so maybe it's very kind of intimidating to send starships, because it's like gunboat diplomacy, which is not a diplomacy at all. If you show a gunboat, if you watch the sky using any kind of machine, be it your eyes or the Hubble or what's today the JOST, whatever, just Webb telescope, like now there's a proposal for a Carl Sagan telescope, which is kind of like ridiculous because, anyway, we'll discuss Carl Sagan in a bit. Just, I mean, he's so young. I mean, like he's basically a child. So you want to build like the most expensive telescope, the most advanced telescope, like to name it after a person that was just born like a couple of years ago. Yeah, I mean, he died like extremely young. Like he was barely 70. But I mean, is it too early? Maybe you wait like 500 years before you kind of like evaluate, the totality of his work. Is a hint here towards evolution conspiracy, but let's leave it aside. So in any apparatus that you use, I mean, you see sheep, then it's fucking too late. Pardon my French, because I mean, this is gunboat diplomacy. Like if you see something in the sky, yes, they see something right now, but let's not discuss current event. It's too late. I mean, you've already done like tremendous damage to yourself, like without any kind of. The best thing is not to watch like alien starships. Just don't watch it and don't even be aware of it. But we already discussed why in the last chapter. So we finished with the question. So maybe send a mail. Like I mean, instead of like today they say like הצעירים היום אומרים, this could have been an email. I remember like years ago, like watching Bernie Sanders. Was he pitted against Obama or against Obama, right? No, against Trump, maybe. No, I don't know. It was like during the Corona time. Like he was invited like to kind of celebration of like maybe Trump's, whatever. I don't know. No, maybe Biden's whatever. And he's like, and then like the caption is, "This could have been an email." Like I mean, what am I doing? This could have been an email. So I mean, we many times all of us felt that way. Like why do we need to actually habeas corpus, like actually be in the body here, with all the fuss? I mean, this could have been an email. I mean, just send mail, and it's less frightening. And I mean, you could just hit the delete key if you don't like it, and it's much like easier to everybody. So that was the question that we finished last video with. Now, of course, we don't mean really. So the question is, what we really mean is not like email, using your current technology, whatever, SMTP, whatever, server, this is, your current internet, TCP, IP, whatever implementation. We discussed the idea of sending a message that is more trivial than we arrived, because the arrival of the spaceships by itself is a message, but it's a message of the barbarian kind. So I'll say right now that this is actually, of everything that we discuss in this series, this is actually the more practical, I would say, of all the aspects that we discuss. Why? Two reasons. First, because this issue deals not just with normally when we discuss first contact and the prime directive, the point of view is that of the higher species, the more technologically advanced species. Because they have the power to dictate whatever they want, so they are also, morally responsible for whatever, for all the consideration. Thank you, Gandalf. So, but in that case, like this specific aspect of the discussion, it's also, there is some kind of implication to the weaker kind, because there is kind of like involvement with the search. Like, should we search for such messages? Or how can we interpret such messages? I mean, if they arrive, like in childhood Zen, that they land on your front door. I mean, they will, they probably they already figured out how to communicate with you. But if it's like a mail, if it's a message, so there's a question of like interpretation, and a question of like how much, and also a political question of like how much money you want to spend into that, like Project SETI. Famously, but there are many kinds of SETI today, like Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. SETI basically SETI is doing just that. I mean, searching for emails from all sorts of people, whatever aliens. But there are many other projects. And these are typically long-term projects, and of course there is typically government support, not always, but almost always. So it's a political issue. So we have a little bit of I would say, implication towards, our current life. This is first reason. And another reason is that you've already received such a message. Again, I try not to discuss current events and current affairs, even though, of course, it's pertinent. But I try to make it as abstract as possible or as neutral as possible. But it should be said that this already happened with the arrival of the Cuban starship right now. Not just with the arrival of the starships, because again, this in itself is not according to my terminology. This is just it's not this does not count as a message because it's kind of trivial. Okay, we arrived. The message is beware of us. It's pretty much this is kind of about diplomacy. But there is another message that actually you've received, and I've already spoken about it like a year and a half ago because the Cherubs told me about it. Then that is that the formation of the starships is by itself a message. Because if you calculate a vector in a mathematical sense, from me to each of the starships, and you continue this vector a little bit more, a little bit something more, eventually the vector will actually touch a star that is visible to humans in the sky sky. I try to say night sky because all the Titans they have their own they have their own meaning to that. So it's kind of it's became it's a tainted term, the night sky. So so all these vectors will actually cover a star. How do I know? How do I receive that message? I have seen it with the naked eye. Why can't you see it? Because you don't have you don't have my vision, like optical vision, like physical. This spectrum is invisible to humans. Now, just to say, it's an impossibility that this is like a coincidence. Yes, you could say it's not you, it's somebody else in the Mizrach Rishon. Okay, יכול להיות שזה מישהו אחר במזרח ראשון. Possible. But it's kind of stupid to assume that it's something else, but maybe because of so many other reasons. But yes, you can say, okay, they point to Mizrach Rishon. But it should be said that, again, this kind of thing is not a coincidence. The chances for that to be coincidence is like 1 in trillion, whatever. So it's a message. And of course, it requires some kind of interpretation and mathematical evaluation, and also context. Now, we will discuss this problem in these issues in a minute. But it should be said, this is always something that humanity is facing. And again, the way to decipher this message is by sending another message which is simpler, as a kind of like a prequel. Okay? So they actually send two messages. One message they sent to me alone, and then I give you the message like a year and a half ago in this channel. I also repeated it several times. They do it all messages, and then you get the actual message. But how to interpret it because I've given you this, the preliminary message. So what was the preliminary message? So there should be like a preliminary message here. So in my case, the preliminary message was a visual view of the starships that looked like watches, or like Ferris wheel, more like a Ferris wheel or like a watch, which means a ring with like many little diamonds, maybe 12 or so little diamonds. But there is one diamond that brights more than others. Usually the one like 11 or 12 o'clock, or by orientation. So you ask yourself, so what is it? Like a Ferris wheel in which like one of the the cabins is like it's like is covered with like very bright light, more than the others. So initially I didn't understand what's going on, but very soon I understood that I don't see any stars. I was asked, so where are all the stars, by the way? There should be some stars. Even with all the light pollution, there should be some stars. all of it is actually recorded. Like, I mean, pretty much verbatim, because I've done, like, you know, the Starship Witness series is kind of like, you know, it's a field, you know, series, like, which I just go outside and say whatever I see and, you know, experience. So all of that, I mean, you have like online recordings of that in this channel. So I figured out there are no stars. What happened to the stars? And then I understood. The only possible explanation is that the starship are covering the stars, from my point of view, and that this is actually the light, the brighter light of like 12 or so lights that is on the Ferris wheel. Of course, this could be a different message in essence than what you get when you use your telescopes. Because I might have seen not like the real ships, but maybe smaller ships, like חיל חלוץ שהגיע לפה, שספינות, like, you know, like a vanguard, you know, force of much smaller ships that I mean already arrived, and they just show themselves to me because they know that I can see this, I can see this spectrum. This is not, זה לא כמו חזון יחזקאל, אני לא יודע מה היה חזון יחזקאל. אני לא באמת יודע מה יש במעשה מרכבה. But I mean, it's not like I should say that all of it is not like kind of like, you know, like a spiritual, you know, voyage or whatever, or like, you know, something, you know, like, you know, kind of like a dream, or no, it's something physical. Like, it's something physical. Not that I'm against, you know, spiritual voyages, but I mean, I just ask myself, what am I actually watching? Is this something that, I mean, of physical nature? Or is it something like, you know, spiritual? I have spiritual, you know, experiences as well. But I wanted to understand, like, what is the nature of this experience that I repeatedly had, you know, throughout many days. And I still do. Almost only during the night, but sometimes also during the day. And I understood this is, that in the case of what I, you know, with Starship Witness, this is like a physical phenomenon, because it depended on light conditions. I mean, if I want, I know, I you know, there is a ton of light pollution, like everywhere, because, you know, it's Tel Aviv, you know, or Rishon, back in the day. So wherever I walk, I mean, there is like a light pollution, but there are places that are worse than others, there are days that are much worse than others. This is actually, light pollution is not just because of the city, only because of the city lights, but also it's greatly determined by atmospheric conditions that are actually always changing. So you can actually watch it. I mean, you know, the observed phenomenon is changed by light pollution, by atmospheric things. So I understood, okay, this is like I really know that it's a physical thing. And the reason why other people cannot, I mean, they obviously nobody else have seen it, because you don't have this, you know, just your eyes are different than mine, because I'm a different species. This is also to Titans. I'm not a Titans, not a human, I'm a cherub. Another species. לא התינוקות שעפים. כמו בתנ"ך קרובים, בסדר? So this already happened. You already received the message, and you already, I mean, you know, from you know, advanced civilization, and you also, I mean, received like a preliminary message which is used to decipher the important message. And the preliminary message is kind of conveyed by me. And another thing, so you can ask me, so how can you trust whatever you've seen? So now this is like another very important, I would say, topic or like element of this discussion, is that these kind of things, these kind of messages, they require the ability of the recipient to decipher it either from scratch, like with no context at all, which is almost impossible, but we'll discuss it in a minute, or using a preliminary message which will be served as a context. But you don't need to trust the conveyor of the preliminary messenger. You don't need to trust me in order to just, I mean, get this deciphering method for me, because of the mathematical improbability that after you decipher the message, you will get something that is of, you know, of significance, that means something to you, if the deciphering method is incorrect. This is true to many times. I mean, you know, you don't need to trust. I mean, if there is like like a box locked, and you get a key, and somebody tells you, take it. This key is for the for the box. So you just try the key, and if it opens the box, then I mean, okay. I mean, you don't need to trust the guy. Just use the key, open the box, and it's. I mean, if it fits, I mean, no trust is needed. Just the box is opened. And how do we know that the box is opened? Because of mathematical considerations. So there should be some kind of like mathematics involved, and also statistics or probability involved. Now, because of that, it should be said that this issue is very interesting from several different, I would say, realms of knowledge or realms of inquiry. Because first we have the general question, like, is that a good way to perform first contact? The answer is no, it's not a good way to do it. So why? I mean, we'll get to, by the end of this video, we'll actually, I'll explain why. I mean, it's length, or it's efficient length, but I should say right now, it's not the best way. That's why we have the next chapter, the Evangelion, which is the proper way to do it. So why did they use this method, this term now? This is like when you see the ships, it's too late already. Now I try not to that situation right now, but I mean, we are in the midst of exactly that situation. That I mean, yes, you receive the message from these cherubs, but this is too late. I mean, for you. This should not be happen at all, because you had messengers and you should have trusted them. Like when you see the starship, it's fucking too late. Like this is like last mission before extermination of all humanity. This is the way it is. You're facing extermination. So no, it's not the proper way. I mean, it's just something that is done now because of other ways. I mean, just failed because of your inability to act not as a cannibal towards other creatures that are not you. And because you just discredit the messenger, torture the messenger, crucify the messenger, stand the messenger for forever. But let's keep it to the next chapter, and let's discuss again what's the problem. So when the first question is that even a good thing, like to conduct first contact that way. Now there's another question. Which is, should we search for such stuff? Should we allocate, our resources to the search? When I say we, I mean not as cherub, but I mean let's say that we now are people of the earth, apes that know how to grow food. Sometimes they know, not in Israel, but some countries, they grow food, and they have YouPorn and maybe iPhones sometimes. That's about it. I mean, not much more than that. So should these creatures, or maybe more advanced than them, but not substantially so, as to allow them to the faster than light travel. So should these apes, allocate public money to the search of such messages, like the SETI project? Like, it's another question, and there's a third question, which is the most, I say, general, which is. And how can you decipher messages without any context? And this is not just about first contact or about aliens. This is something, this is like a general problem, I would say, in linguistics and also in cryptography. That's why this question is kind of like, this issue of message from the stars is so, I would say, it's so, I would say, it's loaded with many, with many realms of study, and this is exemplified in Lovelock's Master Voice, in a great way. That this issue is kind of it requires all sorts of people. And all sorts of just אסכולות מחשבה ואסכולות מחקר. It's a very, very, I would say, the word interdisciplinary is interdisciplinary today in academics, it's already a cliche long ago, but yes, it's like super interdisciplinary, this thing, because it requires, mathematics and, linguistics, history, arguably religion as well, and certainly literature, certainly, and this is discussed a lot in his master voice, like, the importance of literary criticism in such cases. It's incredibly important. Semiotics, so many things are involved that, this is like, so it's an interesting problem, I think, by itself, like, just without even discussing alien, like, even like, let's say that, we don't discuss aliens at all, just, two cultures, whatever, in the same place, that, that they want to send messages without any context, like, in a language that is like, that is completely, that they don't even know what, they don't even share language, or they pretend that they don't share language. So how do they do it? Generally, these things, yes, they, it's there's like generally that stuff, you need to resort to mathematics and to the, to observation of natural phenomena. The kind of the objective things that there is nothing more objective than the natural world and the observation of the natural world, and mathematics, which is presumably universal. But even that should be put to question. Both of these things, like, is mathematics that universal, as often claimed, and also is the observation of the natural world something that is universal in essence? This is also a kind of a philosophical question that sometimes is dealt with in kind of complicated science fiction. Like that, perhaps the perceptions of the world is kind of like different between minds in a way that, not even, you cannot even trust like the observable phenomenon in order to maintain a context for communication. I should say right now that my answer to the second question is that I do not think that it's true. I think that actually, yes, you can use the natural world, or the observation of the natural world, as basic, like, as a context. And my estimation, strong estimation is that intelligent species doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Maybe there are even dolphins. Maybe there are lions. Maybe there are like birds. I don't know. Like, not really birds or dolphins, but maybe they can seem to you like birds or lions, or satans, like in childhood. But my assumption, and again, biology is unbelievably more complicated than what humans know. What you say, what is the umbrella term of biology from human perspective right now, 2024, is amazingly narrow compared to the available biochemistries that exist in the universe. You only discuss, basically carbon-based life forms with, H2O as solvent, and then you have stupid, pardon my French, Goldilocks zones, and the hilarious Drake equation. All of that, it's just bullshit, and this was proven to be so when discussed in this channel, that there are actually many biochemistries, probably tremendous amount of different biochemistries for life. Nevertheless, I should say, my assumption is that, yes, it doesn't matter with biochemistry, it doesn't matter, what they look like. Advanced aliens can probably almost certainly share, use the observation of the natural world as a context, or as a beginning of creation of context for messages. But this is kind of like, I just said it's estimation, but this requires elaboration, but maybe it's not like the time right now. Maybe we should postpone it to later, or maybe to another series in which I will discuss specifically this issue. So now, this is as you understand, this is a complicated topic, and I understand if some of the audience do not follow already. It's a complicated topic, and and his master voice is a complicated novel, a tremendously complicated novel. But then again, we should discuss these issues. At least a little bit. All of the three, like both, the issues. Is that even a good idea to use as a strong side? Should you choose that kind of like method of first contact? And as the weak side, should you search for that? And the third question is like, how can you, which is the most abstract of all, like how can you even maintain communication without context? Which is a general, problem in linguistic and cryptography, with implications on tremendous amount of fields of study. Now, another thing that should be said, I mean, if you answer the first question with no, it's not a good idea, and we're actually going to say that, then I mean, presumably this reduces the incentive for the weaker side to actually search for such messages. And this is actually my claim. Like, I see less, I don't see huge values in project like SETI. And I will explain why. But it should be said that, I mean, this, it's, there's kind of like, there's a kind, in my argument, there is a kind of like assumption of benevolent universe, which is not always, I mean, what people, I mean, imagine. Like, because if you assume benevolent universe, and you proven, or you think that you've proven that that messages, like emails, such emails are not a proper way for first contact, and you assume that, I mean, that advanced aliens are benevolent, then, I mean, why should they do it? But again, why should you assume it? I mean, we have a lot of aliens in science fiction. We have Klingons and we have Vulcans, and why should we assume everybody is benevolent? Like, even in Star Trek, not everybody is. I mean, there is not even one species that maybe the Vulcans are. I mean, they try to be benevolent, but even they fail, as we claimed. In this series, like in the previous chapter, they are actually assholes, not benevolent. And the Vulcans are the most benevolent, I think, in Star Trek of all species. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not like a Trekkie, but I've seen it like when I was young, both the TOS and TNG. And Deep Space Nine, and some part of the Harbour Enterprise, series, which was a shame. But I mean, and of course the movies. But I mean, and all of the Vulcans are the most benevolent, and even they are assholes. So why should you assume, that I mean? So and here we have like another question of But this is incredibly pertinent to the issue of first messages, first contact, the method of messaging is a method for first contact. The question of, I mean, what are the probability of a benevolent universe? And I would say right now that my stand on this issue is that yes, my proposition is that yes, that I mean, the universe is benevolent. And that's, I follow, all sorts of writers, but mostly Thomas Aquinas. And, I cite Thomas Aquinas from time to time. And also, I make fun of him because, I mean, it's okay. Of course, I mean, I respect him tremendously. So, I mean, so sometimes, I even make fun of him in order to favors. Of course, I mean, he's a great, he was incredibly important and still is. So, but it's not, I mean, it's not things that can be explained like on one leg. I don't know how to do it, because I mean, there's so much suffering in this world. So we can say, I mean, is it like, do you mock us with, saying that the universe is benevolent when all of us suffer so much? I should say that, I mean, in the last couple of years, I mean, the more, I progress in life, I mean, the more I suffer. Like, I'm tortured by surrounding to tremendous extent. And this is true now more than ever. And the more I suffer and the more I tortured, paradoxically, the more I understand, like, the position of a benevolent universe. I think it was also Leibniz that proclaimed much after Thomas Aquinas that, I mean, this is the best of all possible worlds. And Voltaire mocked him, and many others mocked him, how can you say it? Look how stupid and ridiculous is this universe. So what do you mean by that? I mean, and do you make like a laughter of, all the poverty and misery? So no, I don't think that Leibniz, I think it was Leibniz, I mean, that said this is the best of all possible world. I mean, he mocked like poverty or misery, and I don't think that Thomas Aquinas wanted to mock any kind of thing. But to me, the more poor I get and the more impoverished I get and suffering that I subjected to, the more I understand actually the views of Leibniz and Aquinas. But this is like another topic, and maybe it should be discussed in another kind of series that again will actually be related to the works of Stanislav Lem, because these questions are also referred to in general in the works of Stanislav Lem, like the idea of not just benevolent universe, but I would say intelligent design in kind of like in a way that does not presuppose, any specific religion, I would say. Okay, so let's stop here because this was kind of complicated, and I don't want to make this video in this, this series like incredibly, kind of like heavy, too heavy. So I stop now, and hopefully, like, in a couple of minutes, or maybe I'll eat something. We'll continue, and like, with the same topic. We'll actually discuss, the actual novel, and I'll try to give some answer, at least preliminary answers to these three questions of of first, is this even a good idea, and second, I mean, should you search for that even if it's a bad idea? Maybe maybe not. Maybe university is not benevolent. Maybe there are a ton of features that are stupid, and just send messages. I mean, even if it's a bad idea, so maybe you should search for it anyway. And the third question of how and if can you even what can you expect from of a deciphering project of message that arrived without any context by definition, because I mean it's just one message that you get.